Hello dear students. Today I like to discuss on a topic called the flower. So let us look up to the essential key points that we will discuss about. Number 1. Parts of a flower. Number 2. Complete and incomplete flowers. Point number 3. Bisexual and unisexual flowers. First, let us look up to the definition of what is flower. A flower is a specialized shoot in which the leaves are modified into floral structures. First of all, there is the stalk which supports the flower, which is also known as pedicel. Some flowers may be without stalk, known as sessile, and the tip of the flower stalk may be expanded to form a cup-shaped receptacle, also known as thalamus. The floral parts are borne on the thalamus in 4 holes. Parts of a flower. Let us observe the diagram given over here. We can see the female reproductive part that consists of petal, stigma, style, pollen tube, ovary and ovule. We can also see the male reproductive part, that is the stamen, and it consists of anther and filament. The other 3 parts are the stem, sepal and the receptacle. First hole. Green sepals, collectively known as calyx. The outermost hole of a flower is called calyx. It contains a set of green leaf structures known as the sepals. There may be 5 or more sepals on a flower. The sepals may be free, known as polysepalous, or fused, known as gamosepalous. There may be second series of sepals called episepals, collectively called epicalyx. It is generally found in the hibiscus flower. Sepals are usually green, but in some cases they are brightly colored, often called as petaloid, as in gulmohar, where they are red in color. Functions. The sepals protect the young flower bud and they can also perform photosynthesis to prepare food for the plant when they are green in color. Second hole. Large brightly colored petals, collectively called corolla. Corolla generally consist of a ring of brightly colored modified leaf structure that surrounds the reproductive parts of flowers. They are often brightly colored or unusually shaped to attract pollinators like bees, insect, butterfly. The petals are generally arranged in a single hole, but sometimes there may be double hole, example poppy, jasmine, or in a spiral hole like water lily. They may be free like polypetalous or united known as gamopetalous, forming a tube. They are of various forms like the tubular form, rotate form, spurt form and etc. Functions. Since petals are brightly colored and produce different scent to attract insect or pollinators, they help in pollination. They also protect stamens and pistils, especially when the petals form a tube. Third hole. Long thread-like processes somewhat projecting out and each usually ending in a bilobed tip. These are stamens, collectively known as androecium. Each stamen has a slender thread-like stalk called filament and a bilobed anther at the tip of the stamen. The number of stamens in different flowers may vary from a few to a large number. The anther is usually two-lobed. Each lobe has two pollen sacs, four sacs in altogether. Within the pollen sac contains dust-like particles or powdery particles of different shapes and size called pollen grains. When the pollen sacs are fully matured, they get ruptured to liberate pollen grains. Pollen grains contain the male gametes or the male reproductive cells. In androecium, stamens may be free, that is known as polyandrocious, or joined in a different way in a single group known as monadelphous, double group known as diadelphous, and several group known as polydelphous. Monadelphous stamens are usually in one group by their filament and anthers are free. Example, China rose. Diadelphous. The filaments are united in two bundles. Out of 10, 9 stamens form a staminal tube while one is free. Example, P. Polydelphous. The filaments are united in several groups. Example, Bombax. Functions. Production and storage of pollen grains are the main two functions of androecium. It is the male reproductive of a flower. Fourth whorl. Centrally located pistil that may be formed of a single female unit called carpel or of several fused carpels collectively called gynoecium. Each carpel consists of basal ovary, a middle style and an uppermost stigma. Stigma. It is the terminal knob-like part and it may be divided into two or more lobes and may assume a feathery appearance. This stigma is covered with hair or with glandular papillae. It serves as a landing place for pollen during pollination. Style. It is the tubular slender stalk which connects the stigma to the ovary. Ovary. It is the solen basal portion composed of one or many carpels. The inner cavity of the ovary may be single chamber or divided into several chambers, each containing a number of rounded bodies, the ovules. The cushion or the solen region in the ovary giving origin to ovules is called placenta. Functions. Gynoecium is the female reproductive organ of a plant. It holds ovary which is transformed into fruit after fertilization. The ovules within the ovary are modified into seeds. Complete and incomplete flower. A complete flower is one which contains all the 4 types of floral structures, which includes the first whorl, second whorl, third whorl, and the fourth whorl. If one of the floral structures are missing, the flower is called incomplete. Essential and non-essential parts of a flower. The essential parts of a flower are those that are directly concerned with reproduction. These parts consist of the stamens, that is the male part, and the carpels, that is the female parts. The non-essential parts are simply the helping parts, which include the sepal and the petals. They protect the reproductive parts of the flower or make the flower attractive for pollination. Bract. A flower that arises in the axil of a leaf-like structure is known as bracts. They may be green like ordinary leaves or at sometimes they are colored. Example, bougainvillea. Nectaries. Flowers produce a sweet fragrant liquid called nectar. It is usually situated at the base of the pistil or on the bases of the petals. In some cases, the nectar attracts insects like honeybees. Bisexual, unisexual and neuter flowers. A flower which contains both stamens and the carpels is called the bisexual flowers or a complete flower. Example, hibiscus. A flower which has only one of these parts, that is having only the stamens or only the carpels, is called the unisexual or incomplete flower. Example, papaya. A unisexual flower which contains only the stamens is called the male or the staminate flower. A flower which contains only the carpels is called the female or the pistillate flower. A flower in which both male and female reproductive organs are lacking is called a neuter flower. Example, ray florets of sunflower. Monoecious and dioecious plants. Monoecious plant, male and the female flowers grow on the same plant separately. Example, cucumber. Dioecious plant. Dioecious plant, male flower staminate and the female flower pistillate grow on the different plants. Example, papaya. Points to remember. Let us see the points which we should remember. Number A. Flower is a reproductive organ. Number B. Essential parts of a flower include the stamens and the carpels. Number C. Sepals protect the bud, petals attract insects, stamens produce pollen grains, carpel receives pollen, and its ovary becomes the fruit containing seeds. Number D. Nectaries are common in both brightly colored flowers. Number E. Sepals may be brightly colored. These are then said to be petaloid. Number F. The pollen grains are fine powdery particles of different shapes. Thank you, dear students, for watching this video. Until then, stay connected.